My sister Denise set down her menu and said loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear, "We should go ahead and order. Clara doesn't need much. She'll be eating alone most nights from now on anyway." The table laughed. I sat there with my menu halfway open, frozen. The waiter looked away. This was supposed to be my celebration. My name is Clara, and I'm 67 years old. I'd just retired after 42 years teaching elementary school. No husband, no kids, just me, and my family never let me forget it. They were polite about it mostly. But there was always this tone, this pity, like I'd missed out on something, like my life was smaller than theirs because I didn't follow the same script. I lived in a small house, drove a sensible car, kept my routines quiet. They saw me as the spinster aunt, the one who got left behind. But here's the thing. I wasn't lonely. I wasn't lost. I had spent decades quietly building a life that was mine, exactly the way I wanted it. Book clubs, volunteer shifts, travel groups, friends who actually knew me. But my family never asked about any of that. They just assumed. And that night, at my own retirement dinner, I realized something that made my stomach turn. They weren't there to celebrate me. They were there to assess me. Drop your location in the comments. I read everyone. And if you've ever been underestimated because you took a different path, you'll want to hear what happened next. Denise's husband Ron leaned back in his chair and grinned at me. "So Clara, what's the plan?" he said. "You gonna sit around knitting all day?" I tried to smile. "Actually, I'm thinking about traveling more. I've got some art classes lined up, and I volunteer at the community center on Thursdays." Denise cut me off. "That's cute. But seriously, what about when you get sick? Who's gonna take care of you?" Ron nodded. "Yeah, and that house of yours is way too big for one person. You thought about selling? Downsizing?" I blinked. This wasn't concern. This was calculation. Denise's son Tyler, who barely ever talked to me, suddenly chimed in. "Grandma says you've been saving forever. Must be nice having all that money with no one to spend it on." My chest tightened. They weren't celebrating. They were circling. Denise leaned forward, her voice sweet and slow like she was talking to a child. "We've been talking, and we think it'd be smart if you moved into a senior community. You know, so you're not isolated. We could help manage things." Manage things. That's what she said. But what I heard was, "Control your money." "I'm fine where I am," I said quietly. Denise's smile didn't move. "For now. But what about in 5 years? 10? You'll be all alone, Clara. That's just reality." The table went quiet. I felt the weight of it. Their pity. Their greed. And then Ron slid something across the table. A brochure. "For an assisted living facility." Denise tilted her head. "We already toured a few places. Just want you to be safe." My hands went cold. They'd been planning this, behind my back. 2 weeks later, I was scrolling through social media and saw the photos. A huge family BBQ at Denise's house. Burgers, laughter, kids running around. I hadn't been invited. I texted her. Saw the photos. Didn't know there was a get-together. Her reply came fast. "Oh, it was last minute. Didn't want to bother you. You're probably tired from all that. Resting." Resting. Like I was already halfway gone. I stared at my phone and realized what they were doing. Freezing me out, treating me like I was already irrelevant. A week after that, I ran into Denise and Ron at the grocery store. Denise's voice boomed across the produce aisle. "Clara, you're out and about. Good for you." I smiled, embarrassed. Ron turned to a woman I recognized from church. "Yeah, we're trying to keep an eye on her," he said, loud enough for me to hear. "She's all alone now, you know. No kids, no husband. It's sad." The woman looked at me with pity. I wanted to disappear. I forced myself to stand tall. I'm doing just fine. Denise put a hand on my shoulder. Of course you are, sweetie. But let us know if you need anything, okay? We're here for you. Her tone was so patronizing I could barely breathe, like I was a charity case, like I couldn't take care of myself. Then came the worst one. Denise called and invited me over for coffee. Just to catch up, she said. I thought maybe she was trying to make amends. I was wrong. When I walked into her house, Ron was there, and so was a man in a suit I'd never seen before. Clara, this is David, Ron said. He's a financial advisor. We thought it'd be smart to go over your finances. You know, make sure everything's in order. My heart started pounding. David opened a folder. Do you mind if I ask a few questions? Your savings, pension, property value? We're thinking you could sign a power of attorney, Denise interrupted. Just in case. So if something happens, we can help. I stood up. I didn't agree to this. Denise's face hardened. We're trying to help you, Clara. You're being stubborn. Ron crossed his arms. You don't want to end up in some state-run home, do you? I grabbed my purse and walked out. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely get my keys in the ignition. As I reached the door, I heard Denise mutter behind me. She's going to regret this when she's sitting alone with no one to turn to. I drove home gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles went white. But here's what they didn't know. What they never bothered to ask. I wasn't alone. I hadn't been for years. Every Tuesday, I met with 6 women from my book club. We'd known each other for a decade. Every Thursday, I volunteered at the community center with people who knew my name, my stories, my heart. Once a month, I had potluck dinners with my travel group. We'd been to Portugal together, Ireland, Iceland. I had close friends, Margaret, Linda, Joanne, women who saw me, really saw me. And my finances? Secure. I'd been working with a financial planner for years, not the one Denise hired. My pension was solid. My savings were invested. I'd even set up a small trust to donate to literacy programs after I'm gone. They saw a lonely old woman. I saw a life I'd built exactly the way I wanted. But I'll admit something. After that meeting, I started documenting everything. The texts, the dates, the conversations. I wasn't sure why at first. Just a gut feeling. The next day, I called Margaret. I told her everything. She was furious. They're trying to isolate you so they can control you, she said. This is textbook elder manipulation. She told me to talk to Linda, who used to work in estate law. Linda came over that weekend. She reviewed the brochures, the texts, the ambush meeting. Clara, she said, her voice steady, you need to protect yourself. Legally. And you need to make it clear you're not vulnerable. We drafted a plan. I updated my will, signed a new power of attorney, giving authority to Linda as a neutral party, named Margaret as my healthcare proxy. And then Linda said something that stuck with me. You need to show them who you really are. So I decided to host a dinner. I invited Denise, Ron, and Tyler. Denise sounded smug on the phone. She's finally ready to listen, I heard her say to Ron in the background. Ron's voice came through the speaker. About time. Once we get that power of attorney, we can start liquidating the house. I hung up, and I smiled. The night of the dinner, Denise, Ron, and Tyler showed up right on time. They walked in expecting to find me alone. Instead, my dining room table was full. Margaret, Linda, Joanne, 3 other women from book club, 2 of my neighbors, and Patricia, my travel group leader. Denise stopped in the doorway. What's going on? I smiled. I wanted you to meet the people I spend my time with. You kept saying I'd be alone. Ron looked uncomfortable. We thought this was a family dinner. It is, I said. These people are my family. Denise's face went tight. Denise, I said calmly, you've spent the last month trying to convince me I'm helpless, that I need you to manage my life. We're trying to protect you, she shot back. No, I said, you're trying to control me and profit from it. I pulled out my phone. I pressed play. Ron's voice filled the room, clear as day. Once we get that power of attorney, we can start liquidating the house. Denise went pale. Tyler stammered. Aunt Clara, we didn't mean… I heard everything, I said. I've documented everything. Linda stood up. I'm Clara's attorney, she said. Her estate is locked down. Power of attorney is assigned. You have no claim. Margaret folded her arms. And we've all witnessed your behavior. If you continue harassing her, we'll file for a restraining order. I looked Denise in the eye. I'm not alone. I'm not helpless. And I'm not your retirement plan. Ron tried to recover. You're making a mistake. What if something happens? To you? Joanne laughed. She's more active than most people half her age. We just got back from hiking in New Mexico. Denise's voice cracked. We were just trying to help. I shook my head. If you'd ever asked, really asked, you'd know I don't need that kind of help. I pulled out a photo album from the side table. I opened it. Pages and pages of trips, volunteer events, friends laughing around tables just like this one. Denise stared at it like she was seeing me for the first time. She didn't know me at all. You can leave now, I said. They did. In silence. My friends stayed. We cleaned up together, laughed, told stories. I thought I'd feel angry or sad, but all I felt was light. Over the next few weeks, Denise tried to reach out. Awkward texts, half apologies. I replied politely, but distantly. I didn't need the drama anymore. Months later, I ran into her at a cousin's wedding. She looked uncomfortable. I was surrounded by friends, thriving. She came up to me quietly. You were right, she said. I didn't see you. I know, I said. There was no big reconciliation, just a quiet acknowledgement. And that was enough. For once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. I realized I'd spent years seeking their approval, but the people who mattered had been there all along. Now, when I sit at my dining room table, it's full of laughter, full of love, full of people who chose to see me. They said I'd be alone. Turns out, I just needed to stop listening. Where are you watching from? Drop it below. I always check. If you've ever been underestimated because of your age or your choices, or because you didn't follow someone else's script, this one's for you. Subscribe if you believe your life is yours to design, no matter what anyone says. And tell me, who's sitting at your table? The people who see you, or the ones who only see what they can get? Let's talk in the comments.